return fire quickly on the enemy. That's what we call RTR. Basically it's return fire, take cover, return appropriate fire. So what that means is, as soon as you come under contact, you'll bring your weapon to bear in the general direction of the enemy that fired on you, fire off 2-3 rounds. If you're on auto, just fucking fire off a burst. You can do that with airsoft if you don't get recoil. So fire off a few rounds in the general direction of the enemy. That'll make them think, oh shit, he's seen me, and they might, if you're lucky, especially if the rounds are close, they might duck down, fucking, or hide or whatever, and stop firing for a second. Especially if the whole section's doing that, there's chances are some of the rounds are going to go more or less their direction. So once you've done that, you can take cover. So literally find the closest available cover to you. If there's nothing nearby, just fucking go prone. Prone's a brilliant way to get out of any fire, especially in airsoft, because it makes you such a small target. It's brilliant. But if not, even just a fucking tree will help. Even if you go prone next to a tree, it all makes a difference, as you probably fucking noticed last night, and playing as long as you have them. And then at that point, you're then going to try and locate the enemy, and then return effective fire. So once you've returned fire and taken cover, you're just going to fucking find the enemy, and then your 2IC is going to control the rate of fire so that you're actually getting a decent weight down so the enemy doesn't return fire on you. Everyone get that? Pretty simple. So a couple of rounds off, take cover, and then fucking you're going to think about suppressing the enemy, basically. So moving on from that, in order to return effective fire, we're going to have to locate the enemy. So has anyone got any ideas of a good way to locate the enemy you might know? No?
Listen for them shooting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with airsoft that's a really good one actually, because you can really hear where the fire's coming from. In real life you get the crack and the thump and you've got to work it out, but in airsoft you can literally hear the rifle going ring, 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 ring. So literally that's a really easy one, and one we use quite a lot, is just listening for enemy shooting and then fucking look in that direction. Nice and simple. One that you don't usually have in airsoft, but I saw last night, was muzzle flash. You usually don't get it, but with Chris's little fucking trace unit, you did get it, and that gave away his position quite easily. So it's still one to be aware of in the night game. Any other ideas? One quite handy one, which again I used a bit last night, is a fucking smoke screen on is actually using a distraction, or basically your most solid bloke, to get up and sort of make himself seen, whether that be to run from piece of cover to piece of cover, or just to fucking jump up and wave and shout, or even just shoot at anything. But what we're actually doing is we entice the enemy to fire back at you, and when they do that, if other people just stand cover watching, they've got a better chance of seeing the enemy, because they'll either hear their weapon firing or they'll see them move as they go to fire at the idiot who's jumping about trying to be a distraction. Another one is firing into likely enemy positions. If you can't find the enemy, it doesn't hurt to just fucking think, oh, that bush looks a bit fucking dodgy, and just shoot at it. Like, you might see them move and duck for cover, or you might even just hear an owl hit. So it's worth a try every time. If you can't find them, just fire a few fucking pot shots into the area. And another one is tracer. Again, in airsoft only really useful at night, but could have used it last night with Chris's gap. And that's literally, if one person can see him, he fires on the enemy, and then with his tracer, everyone else watches where the tracer goes, and then you all hell breaks loose onto that target. So there are a few good ways of locating the enemy. Nice easy ways. So going back to RTR, once you've located the enemy after returning fire and taking cover, you're going to locating the enemy is probably going to be the hardest and longest part of this fucking whole situation. So you're going to be sat there for a while thinking, where the fuck is he? We did it a lot last night, we're like, can't fucking see him. Sat there waiting, just hoping that someone will move. Once you've got that down, you pretty much squared away to win, because all you've got to do is what we call a baseline. That's where everyone gets to position and they've got a good shot on this target, and they fucking let loose wall of lead, or DVs, plastic, onto the enemy position. What I should do is should get their head down. They'll just think, shit, I've hit a bee's nest here. So what would usually happen, don't necessarily need to do it in airsoft, but someone will call baseline, and everyone else will call baseline, and that lets everyone know that you're going to fucking get a heavy weight fire down, and everyone, not just the support gunners, will just automatic or even single shot just firing rapidly, firing into that general area where the enemy is, and like I said, they should get their heads down and think twice about popping up. At that point, they'll probably be shitting it so much, unless they're a really good player, that they will keep their heads down for a while, especially the really young players. They tend to think, oh fuck, and they'll hide for ages. So at that point, you can literally slow the rate of fire down and just say, right, okay, fucking ripple fire, and literally left man will fire, next man will fire, next man will fire, next man will fire, and you'll just literally get one shot every now and then pinging off the cover around them, but they're shitting themselves because they know there's loads of people out there, so they're not going to jump up. If they do, just up the rate of fire a bit. So it's all about keeping their heads down. We've been through it quite a few times before, and it can be quite hard in airsoft because everyone knows that if you get hit by a DB, you're not going to die, so it's harder to keep the enemy's head down. But the basic idea is heavy weight of fire initially to get their head down, slow the rate of fire down to just get them to allow you to conserve ammo, but keep their heads down. Then if they start popping up and shooting a couple of rounds off, start upping the rate of fire, and just try and find that sweet point that keeps their heads down enough so they're not jumping up at you, but isn't wasting too much ammo. It'll be different depending on who you're playing against, to be honest. It depends on how brave they are, really. And then the last time you're going to up your rate of fire is when you go for the assault, which we'll go on to now. And basically, the assault speaks for itself. That's where you're going to move in, close and kill with the enemy. There's a few ways you can do this, and the most obvious way that we usually do. Can everyone see this if I set these up down here? Locate the sticks that I'm using. Right, so say each one of these sticks is a manual section. So we've got 5 people in our little section here. And what's happened is you're patrolling along, say you're in Arrowhead, quite a popular formation, gives you good coverage, and if you get fired from, you've got good arcs on everywhere. These guys can turn and fire to the right, these guys can turn and fire to the left. You can turn and fire behind, turn and fire front, and you're not likely to hit anyone, any of your mates. So say you got fired at from the front, we'll keep it nice and simple. First, probably, well, everyone will probably RTR, so they'll all return fire, take cover. At this point, whoever's closest probably, so number 1, 2 and 3 are probably going to be looking for the enemy. These guys will just be checking the flanks, making sure that there's no one else about trying to sneak around on them, if you've got a smart enemy. And then once he's located them, yeah, you're going to call baseline. So, well, first of all, it's going to give a clear location. We won't go over that today, but you want to let people know where the enemy is. You need to fucking speak up, because this happens so many times. Someone will see the enemy and they won't tell anyone. The first thing you need to do is shout where he is, because if you think, oh, there he is, and start shooting, and you get shot, it doesn't matter that you saw him, because no one else knows where you were shooting. So make sure everyone knows where that target is, and then once everyone's aware, you're going to call baseline, and then the rate of fire will be up massively, so they'll get their heads down. At this point, preferably, if you're quite far apart, you'll bring your line up so that everyone's more or less in line. You don't have to be fucking straight, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you've got to be more or less in line. Right, so at this point you've got the enemy suppressed, you've got a heavy rate of fire going down on them, and they're shitting themselves. So say the enemy is sat behind this little bun line, rocking with a machine gun, wrapping the shit out of you. Right, so the one way you can do an assault is the para method, or the straight on assault, which is basically plenty of smoke straight at the middle. If you don't have smoke, that's fine. But everyone heard of pepper potting before? Yeah, quite simple. So what you'll do is you'll split yourselves up, usually in half as a team. Here we've got 5, so you'll probably have 2 on the left, 3 on the right, or the other way around. It doesn't really matter at all. And what you'll do is these guys will fire at the enemy, keep their heads down. They'll up the rate of fire as these guys move. These guys will move up only slightly, and then they'll get some cover and they'll start firing on this enemy. At this point, their fire should be a bit more effective because they're closer. The closer you get, the more effective your fire is going to be. You might even hit the fucker, and then you don't even have to go through this whole process. Then these guys will move up while they're providing them fire. So you've always got one foot on the ground providing fire. And literally, you'll keep doing that. As you get closer, you can also split down further into individuals. So what will then happen is this guy will stay firm, this guy will move, this guy will stay firm, this guy will move, this guy will move. Right, so you just work in a pair sort of thing. You don't worry about the rest of the team. And eventually you'll work your way over and this guy will be dead at that point. That's the general gist of it. The only thing with that is, unless you've got a lot of cover between you and the enemy, or you've got really effective suppressing fire, you're pretty likely to get shot to fuck. So it's not always a good idea. And then the next plan is a very simple fucking flanking manoeuvre, which I try and use quite a lot. And that is to quite literally get your heaviest and biggest guns to stay firm where they are. So say on the left here you've got fucking 2 gunners, or a gunner and his mate with an AEG, and they'll just keep firing down on Mr. Black Blap over here. They'll just be suppressing them. They'll up their rate of fire, while these guys will run in a little line, preferably behind some cover. Usually you'll find that the way a lot of sites are set up and the way it tends to happen naturally, you'll find something, left or right, doesn't matter. You'll find like a bun line or some trees that you can just run behind. And ideally, you don't want to be shooting, you just want to run around. The beauty of airsoft is you can kind of run around out of their actual out of their range, so you can just go back a bit and run around, and they can't even hit you. So you can chill out a bit. If you can't go right and you need to go left, and your guys are here, just go behind them. Just never run in front of them, because you'll fucking get shot in the back of the head. It fucking hurts. And then what they'll do is what you can do at this point is once you hit about 45 degrees. You can then post a point of fire, so that's another person will just sit at some cover and he'll just fucking fire on him. That way he's now got 2 angles of fire coming at him. He's like, oh shit, they're surrounding me. He doesn't know what's going on. At this point he's probably got his head down, can't see where you're moving to. That's the plan. And then you'll just move yourselves up to here. You've got a nice bit of cover here, lob a fucking grenade and then run over the top and shoot him until he dies. Happy days. That's your assault. Once he's dead, under fire. I've lost all my men now. Here we go. We've only got 4. One of them died. Got killed. So at this point, we go on to the reorg. So that's the assault done. You'll fucking fight through the enemy, and you want to move a bound, well, preferably a bound beyond the enemy. Although what you'll find in airsoft is because there's a lot of respawns so quickly, you're probably going to end up fucking on the enemy position, get fired at again. So ideally, on the reorg, what you would do is get into an all-round defence, but again, in airsoft, the game sites itself in such a way, you don't really need to do that. So you set yourself a little line so that you're ready to defend from a counter-attack, because that is likely to be what happens. You don't always have to keep pushing forwards. If you've just taken out a strong enemy position, it can be a good idea to hold there until you're ready to make another move. Until you've either got reinforcements, especially if you lost guys in that last attack, or until you've just picked off a few of the enemy. So you'll hold here and you'll just work out what you've got. You'll find out who's dead, who's got what ammo, and generally how you're doing. And then once you've kind of got a good picture of that, you can crack on and try and do another assault and fucking push up further. The key to fucking winning, I find, is just to keep pushing up, and then eventually you get there. But people just fucking sit back. Hold on, what was going to go on to next? Yeah, that's pretty much it for pre-war. Has anyone got any questions on that? Pretty simple stuff. That's the basic idea of it. The only reason I'm teaching you is so you kind of have an understanding of the whole process. I mean, most of you know it anyway. What time are we on? As important in airsoft as it is to fucking work. So I'll just quickly go over it. I'm going to go over the really pussers method, the way that we get taught to do it, but in reality you don't need to be this pussers about it. Just as long as you get the basic gist of it and understand what I'm saying, you just got to kind of make sure it's clear. So there's two mnemonics for fire control orders. One is clap, and that's the way you'll give a fire control order. So that is clear, loud, as an order, and with pauses. So every time you give one, just think, was that clap? And then the next one is grit, which is the actual process you'll go through, which is group, range, indication, and type of fire. So just going through that, Group is the group of people that you want to fire. This is sort of a fire control order as well. So you talk the group of people you want to know. So say I was with Chris and I spotted an enemy, I'll be like, Chris, yeah. So it's as simple as that. But if you've got a whole section and you've got call signs and shit, you could be like fucking section, or you can be gunners or fucking marksmen or whatever. So you'll let whoever you're talking to know that you're talking to them, nice and loud, so they fucking know you're talking to them. If you can, get them to look at you, so that you're fucking aware that they're listening to you. And then you'll go on to range, so you'll guesstimate a range of where the enemy is. A good way to do this in airsoft is literally thinking about how far can your rifle fire, can you hit him from there? If he's just beyond your range, he's probably like, what, 30 metres or so. If he's within your range, he's probably about 20 metres. If he's pretty close, probably 10, 5 metres. You're mostly going to be working on ranges like that in airsoft, so anything up to about 100 metres really. So give them a range, let them know sort of whereabouts they're looking, and then you'll move on to the most important part probably, which is indication. So that is actually, is actually bringing them onto the target. And this can be quite difficult, especially if you're flapping your tits off and you've got BBs flying everywhere. Right? It can be quite hard to think exactly where he is, especially somewhere like this, where you've got just a lot of trees, because
I see it at skirmish all the time. Where is it? Behind the tree?
Yeah.
What a fucking tree!
We had a perfect example when we got bumped fucking on exercise at work a few weeks ago, and we had all the guns set up. I was fucking number 2 on someone's gun. Stop doing it. And we were getting fucking loads of rounds down, but no one could actually see the enemy. We just knew they were coming like through the wooded area. And in front of us was a big bunch of fucking trees. Well, we're in a wood like this, all in our fucking harbour area. In front of us was like a really heavy wooded bit, and then beyond that was like a road with some trees, more trees, bunch of trees fucking everywhere. And someone was like, "We need a fire control order," and then someone goes, "Yeah, lads, through the trees, prominent tree." Okay, cheers, great. What can we do with that? Right, so in a place like this, it can be really hard to do. You've got to try and pick things out. Like, luckily, we've got a lot of kind of stuff we put here. Like, if we were here, we could use the high-vis vest hung on the tree. Yesterday, we were using things like the start point or the barricades. So you just got to try and pick something out. If you really can't, then there is other ways to do it, which I'll go into in a sec. So different types of indication you've got are using a reference point. That is really handy if you're in a defensive position. So what you'll do is, say you were harboured up somewhere or you're waiting for someone, you say, right, lads, that tree over there is going to be known as fork tree, because it's got a fork in it. The high vis over there is going to be known as high vis, just so people understand exactly where you're pointing when you shout out. That way, all you've got to do is say, high vis, enemies at high vis, so they know exactly where to look straight away. That's a really handy way to do it if you've got enough time to give reference points. Another one is what we call hand angles. This one's quite interesting. What you'll do is you'll use a reference point. So say there's an enemy, but he's not quite on high vis vest, he's to the left of high vis vest. What you do is you put your hand out, you can do it with your fingers or your knuckles, and basically you count, make sure your hand's fully outstretched, close one eye, and then line your one finger up to the target, or the reference point, sorry, and then put as many fingers as you need to bridge the gap between your reference point and the target. Does everyone understand that?
Yeah.
And then what you'll do is then you'll have a number, you'll have like 4 fingers. And everyone's fingers, some are fatter and stuff, but generally with the size of their fingers to the size of the length of their arm, it tends to be about the same amount of fingers and stuff if you just give them the indication on
More
that.
fingers the better.
The small amount of difference it will be isn't enough for them to not see someone, unless your fucking range is at 2k or something, which you're not going to get in airsoft. So you literally say, right, enemy, high vis vest, 3 fingers left of high vis vest, fucking machine gunner sort of thing. So that's hand angles, nice and easy, no questions on that. Yeah. Another one is graticules on binoculars, but we don't really use them in airsoft, so there's no point. Clockray method. There's 2 sort of ways you can do the clockray method, and one of them is using reference points. So that was literally, you'll say, we use the high vis example again. So high vis vest, enemy at 1 o'clock of high vis vest. So what that is it's not 1 o'clock of you. You need to place the clock face on top of your reference point, and then he's 1 o'clock of the reference point. So that means that he could be 6 o'clock of high vis vest. That would literally mean he's in between you and the high vis vest. Do you understand that? Or the other way of doing it is, if you're going to give a quick target indication, it can be handy in somewhere like this where there's not many reference points, but it's not as accurate, and you literally give a clock ray on yourself. So you'll say, right, sort of like what you see in fucking Battle of Britain, the old pilot thing. You're like, right, 3 o'clock of me, and 100 metres, and they'll be like, right, okay, he's over that way somewhere, fucking about 100 metres. So you kind of get an idea. Am I missing any target indications?
No, it says we did actually use one on the hill yesterday, because you remember, Brad. As soon as we got on the hill, I went, right, your arcs are 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Sam, yours is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Then you and Matt were covering the bottom half of the clock, because there's only one way they could come from that direction. So, you know, so straight away you've got your arcs, and as soon as, you know, and Sam did it. As soon as Sam, you know, Sam goes, enemy spot at 2 o'clock, because that was his zone. So if you're actually setting, so all it takes, you know, you can literally do that with a 4 or a 5-man team. It's just actually set up in quarter clocks, and then as soon as it's spotted, everybody else knows what's going on. And if your mate, and it happened yesterday, if your mate gets hit in that zone, you've got to think, oh shit, I've now got to cover that. Yeah. So, because instead of covering a quarter, you've got to cover a half. So, but it's a good way of doing it, because at least then everybody knows what's happening. And you don't have to use the clock method totally, because later in, because I was watching, I think I saw you run it. It was you, and he moved from 11 o'clock, and he was moving around counterclockwise. And I just said to you there, and Brad, it says, Shep's moving into your zone now, Brad. And he went, Roger, and he were watching you. So you just pass on the information of where people are moving around you. And so a lot of the time, it's not too much actually in here at the moment, because it's quite dense. But in autumn here, you will use it with, even though they're out of range, so you can just keep an eye on where the movement is around you, because the assault's going to come. Because, you know, we all do it. You've done it. I've done it. Where you assault from one direction with 1 or 2 people to bring all the fire, everybody looking in that direction, and then you actually hit from the other side with the full force.
It's always a good one.
And it's, you know, so you've got to stay in your zones. Yeah. You really do, unless you recognise. If someone turns around and says 3 o'clock, I've got 5 assaulting from that direction, you know there's only 5 of the enemy, then you all swing round and fire onto that, because you know there's nobody else left. But if he only says there's 2, you go, where's the other 3? Shit. Yeah. So you've got to keep your zones in. So
particularly in an urban area, maintaining your arcs is really important. It's important here as well. But like, if you're moving through an area where the enemy could pop up anywhere, if there's a contact, say the second guy in is looking right, and you're the third guy in and you're looking left, you've got to maintain that left arc. Unless he gets hit, then you might need to turn around and fucking start returning fire. But ideally, you want to maintain your arc in case you get bumped from the side. To be fair, in an environment like this, it's rare that people move quick enough, because airsofters are often beefers. It's rare that they move quick enough to actually hit you from multiple locations at once. But in an urban area, they might already be set up in the buildings. So it's always key to keep your arcs. And also, moving on from what Jay said earlier about giving people arcs, is actually another handy indication method. Is if you're, again, particularly if you're defending, but even if you're walking along, you say, right of arc is that fucking fallen tree over there, left of arc is the stump, and centre of arc is the white split tree, sort of thing. That's another way you can give a really quick target indication. Go right, half right, and that literally you go right. It's in between the centre and the right of arc. Yeah, so that's another handy little one to do. And then to finish off your target indication, you just give the type of fire you want. So you just say rapid fire, deliberate fire, whatever. It's probably going to be, if you just locate the enemy, you're going to put rapid fire down on them because you want to get their heads down, unless they haven't seen you. You can give a target indication if they haven't seen you, and then you probably want to just not fire.
But that's where your radios come in. You just go, hold fire.
Yeah.
So you give a target indication, but you finish it with hold fire.
Yeah.
And you can designate the first person to open up as well, can't you? So you say it says everybody hold fire, gun group to open up in range. So which is ideal for airsoft, because if you've got your gun group pushed to one side, and I was trying to do it. I was doing it as a one-man band with. I was doing it last night with Matt. I got him behind the barricade, didn't it? And it was you he shot in the back.
I think so.
Yeah, because I actually left him way out of the system, and said, "Stay there, Matt." And they're going to come on to us, and eventually, yeah, it did. It was you and I think it was you in ghillie suit, but he didn't see you because you were in the ghillie suit. So you know, you can stick out a gun group. Just tell them to be quiet until a certain point, because it throws them up. Because if they're actually creeping up on you and they think they've got the best battle plan, and all of a sudden and they think they know where everybody is, and all of a sudden it opens up from the other side, it throws them out.
Yeah.
So.
But what we'll do is later when we go into CQB lane, we all know that takes a while to go through. So while people are waiting, we'll actually practice some fire control orders and target indications. Just get some hands on them. Do you want to quickly go over camera car and then we'll crack on with it?
Yeah, you can leave your weapons just on. Well, actually, you can bring them if you want. But we're going to go and sit under there because we've got all the kit under there. So away from the fire, and we'll go sit under the.